Yu-Gi-Oh loves the rule of 3, and to be fair, it's brought them a lot of success. A playset in Yu-Gi-Oh is 3 cards, the 3 Egyptian gods are iconic, and even in the more recent deck building packs, all 3 archetypes have been fairly competitive. But trios aren't always so popular or successful. The 3 Nordic gods are an infamous failure, both trios of Magnet Orders leave a lot to be desired, and the trio of King's Knight, Queen's Knight, and Jack's Knight fall into the same category. These guys have been around for a long time, most famously in the Yu-Gi-Oh anime, as they are featured in Yugi's deck during Battle City, and also featured in Roku's deck in Yu-Gi-Oh's Excel. But you may have forgotten that there's an entire archetype for these cards, but that's okay, because in today's video, we're going to cover it to understand why everyone forgot about this trio. But before we get into it, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now let's get started. When I was doing research for this video, Yugipedia referred to this trio as the 3 Musketeers of face cards, which is a term I've never heard before, but I'm probably going to refer to them as the trio in this video, or by their individual names if necessary. We were first introduced to these knights in 2005's Elemental Energy. The trio of King's, Queen, and Jack's Knight are fairly simple. Queen and Jack are normal monsters, and when King is normal summoned while Queen is on the field, you can special summon Jack from your deck. That's it. You get 3 monsters on board to do whatever you want. But the setup in an older context is a bit tedious. It's effectively a 3-turn play. Summon Queen's Knight, hope it survives to the next turn, then summon King's Knight and use its effect, and that's assuming you open Bolt. But this process could be sped up with cards like Unexpected Die and Reinforcement of the Army. And the other old card is the fusion of the 3 knights, Arcana Knight Joker, which was released in 2009's Ancient Prophecy. If Arcana Knight Joker is targeted by an activated effect, you can discard a card of the same type to negate it. This effect is absolutely awful. It's like Invoke Mechaba but worse, and it doesn't even destroy the card it negates. This effect really only works if your opponent doesn't read the card. But that's all of the old stuff. Really not much to go off of, so support really had the opportunity to be whatever it wanted. King's Court was released in July of 2021, and it was filled with anime related stuff, but the Royal Knights took center stage. They released 8 new cards for the archetype, and we're going to deviate and start with the spells instead of the monster. So we're starting with the normal spell, Joker Straight. Its effect reads: discard 1 card, special summon 1 Queen's Knight from your deck, add 1 King's Knight or Jack's Knight from your deck to your hand, then immediately after this effect resolves, normal summon 1 monster. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn, except Light Warrior monsters. During the end phase, if this card is in your graveyard, you can target 1 Light Warrior monster in your graveyard, shuffle it into the deck, and if you do, add this card to your hand. I love this card because it basically acknowledges how ridiculous setting up the knights is by just doing it for you. And I always enjoy seeing cards like this for older archetypes where they just fix the gimmick. It does extra deck lock you into light monsters, which is a little awkward, but on the bright side, you do have access to most of the Utopian monsters. Now we'll move on to the monsters, starting with Imperial Bower. It can tribute itself and add to your hand or summon 2 of your knights from your deck. It sets you up to resolve King's Knight's effect, like Joker Straight, but it can't summon itself, so it'll likely take up your normal summon. But one of the things I appreciate about all of these cards is that you can get away with running 1 of each knight. To be on the safe side, you could run them in multiples, but you don't really want to draw them. The next monster is the level 5 Joker's Knight. Its effect reads: you can send 1 Queen's Knight, King's Knight, or Jack's Knight from your deck to the graveyard, special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, this card's name becomes the sent monster's name until the end phase. During the end phase, if this card is in your graveyard, you can target 1 other Light Warrior monster in your graveyard, shuffle it into your deck, and if you do, add this card to your hand. Joker's Knight can fill in for any of your knights in addition to dumping 1 for cost and returning itself to the hand, which is a common trait among many of these cards. This is really helpful because once again, you don't have to draw into the old cards, and it can replace whichever one you're missing. My only critique would be that it is a level 5, as if it was level 4, it'd be more useful for Xyz plays, but overall, it's great. And the final monster is Arcana Triumph Joker. This is a level 10 Light Warrior monster, which is kind of a boss monster, but not really. It can summon itself by sending the trio from your hand or field to the grave, and gains 500 attack for each card in both players' hands. And the final effect allows you to discard a card and destroy all face-up cards your opponent controls with the same card type. This card is fine, a pseudo board wipe is cool, and many of the other cards can return themselves to the hand during the end phase, so it's not too much of a cost, but getting rid of 3 monsters to summon this is just not worth it, which is another common theme you'll find among these cards. The next card from King's Court is the fusion spell, Face Card Fusion. Fusion summon one light warrior fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as material. If you control Queen's Knight, King's Knight, or Jack's Knight, you can use one monster from your deck as fusion material. At first, I thought this card was terrible because it didn't come with a new fusion monster, and the generic light warrior fusions aren't the best, and I was kind of right. But then I realized the part of the effect that dumps from the deck does not specify that it has to be a knight. So in the future, I think this card could have some interesting application. And the final spell is Thunder Speed Summon, which lets you normal summon a level 10 monster. Or, if you control any of the trio, you can add a level 10 non-dark monster with question mark attack from your deck to your hand, in addition to getting to normal summon it. And the intended search target is an interesting card that we will discuss later on. And finally, for the traps, we have Joker's Wild and Court of Cards. Joker's Wild can send a spell from deck to grave which mentions the entire trio and copy its activated effect. And of course, during the end phase, you can return it to the hand by shuffling a light warrior monster from your grave into the deck. It's effectively extra copies of every spell, but I think it's hampered by the fact that none of the spells you can send let you interact with your opponent. Court of Cards is a continuous trap that lets you summon one of the trio from your hand or grave if you control no monsters or only control those monsters. And you can banish any number of the trio from your grave with different names to draw as many cards as you banished. Once again, no interaction, and it has no synergy with the other cards that shuffle your knights into the deck. But I think that was an intentional design choice to make you play more bricks in your deck, so you don't banish all of them. Overall, I see the vision, but these cards don't really do anything. If you love the King's Knight, Queen's Knight, and Jack's Knight combo as a kid, you'll love this deck, but that's about all you're doing with it. I'm not going to bother reading Arcana Extra Joker's effect. It's effectively Arcana Knight Joker and Deco Talker combined. Not very good, but the truly unfortunate thing is that this card was printed in the 2018 Megatins and doesn't mention the trio, so it's a little harder to incorporate into the deck. Not that you would play it anyway. And next is my favorite card in the archetype, Royal Straight Slasher. I thought this card would never be printed, like never. We had all of the Awaken the Dragons cards, we had Golden Castle of Stromberg, but we didn't have Royal Straight Slasher. I know filler arcs in the anime aren't the most beloved, but the KC Grand Championship is burned into my memory, and it's probably because of this card, but we finally got it in 2022's Battles of Legend Crystal Revenge. Its effect reads: cannot be normal summoned / set, must be special summoned with a Royal Straight. If you have all of Queen's Knight, King's Knight, and Jack's Knight in your graveyard, you can send 5 monsters with different levels of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 from your hand and or deck to the grave, and if you do, destroy all cards your opponent controls. When this card is destroyed by battle, you can target up to 3 light warrior monsters in your grave, special summon them. This card is really weird. You don't have to run it in the deck, as you have other options in terms of boss monsters, and the deck doesn't naturally play a variety of levels, so you have to force it. But I can't help but think this card has some potential. Dumping 5 monsters is crazy regardless of how you have to go about it, but generally, this card's terrible. Although it wasn't designed with the King's Court stuff, so it's a little more acceptable. And we'll briefly mention the spell used to summon it, Royal Straight. It can send the trio from your hand or field to the grave to summon a monster from your hand, deck, extra deck, or grave that mentions all 3. It's nice that it's flexible, but most of these monsters aren't worth the investment. And the last unofficial member of the archetype is of course Slifer the Sky Dragon. It gains attack for every card in your hand, and has the other effect where it can reduce opponent's monster's attack. That doesn't really come up that much. This deck is effectively built to set up 3 tributes for Slifer, in addition to filling your hand with cards, as most of them have ways to return themselves during the end phase. The XYZ retrains do something similar, as Union Activation's Graveyard effect can search a monster with 3000 more attack, and normal summon it after you summoned exactly 3 light machines at the same time. But those cards have an established identity outside of the God card. The first thing that stuck out to me about these cards is that the art is amazing. I remember when most of the stuff came out, but I guess I wasn't paying much attention. Joker Straight and Court of Cards are incredible, like really good art, but now we'll move on to the playing quality of the cards. I know I just talked about how Slifer is the boss monster of the deck, but this deck effectively has no boss monster. Slifer's too easy to get rid of for it to be the payoff. It has no protection from itself or the deck, and its attack reduction effect is the only interaction you have on your opponent's turn. Royal Straight Slasher and Arcana Trap Joker are not quick effects, so even if you get to go first, you're not setting anything up unless you draw into a bunch of hand traps. This archetype also really highlights the importance of modern archetypes having names, or at least a singular card that they all mention. All of these cards have to say King's Knight, Queen's Knight, and Jack's Knight. It's not too bad because the rest of the text isn't super wordy, but something like Court of Cards mentions the trio 3 times, and I can't imagine what it's going to look like when they get more support in the future. 2021 in general just seemed like an off year for Yu-Gi-Oh! And Yu-Gi-Oh! Products. King's Court wasn't great, Blazing Vortex, Lightning Overdrive, and Dawn of Majesty are sitting at the same table. Burst of Destiny me was Meta Warping, but that was at the tail end of the year. And two of the other archetypes I've covered on the channel are from this period, although they're much better than this. It probably comes down to being a TCG exclusive deck, and those are always hit or miss. But that's the video. If you enjoyed it, leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. What's your favorite trio in Yu-Gi-Oh? Leave it in the comments below, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.